All right. Thanks for joining me for another episode. Today, I'm thrilled to have with me Shane Long. Shane, for those who don't know, is the founder of one of the first microbreweries in Ireland way back, and also one of the founders of the newest microbrewery in Ireland, which is literally about 2 weeks old, I think. So it's a big story. Shane has obviously a big reputation in the industry in Ireland, and I'm just thrilled to have him here to talk about things, Shane. Um, I suppose I don't know where to start because you've such a big range of stuff. Maybe we should. Is it better to start off way back in how Franciscan Well got set up and how then that influences where you got to with Changing Times, or is it better to start
Sure.
with Changing Times?
That's fine. So my background is in hospitality and bars. It's not in brewing at all. I was running a club in London. I got a phone call from a venture capitalist who had acquired a site on the North Mall in Cork. There was a manufacturer's license on it. It was at the back of the pub. He wanted to maintain as much, or get as much return as possible for himself, and process of elimination put in a microbrewery. We were lucky enough to get a fantastic brewer from America who's still in brewing. He retired, but he went back in. He's running a microbrewery in town now. He stayed with us for about 10 years. It was very, very tough at the start. Craft wasn't even a term. People viewed it as home brewing. It wasn't until we started winning international awards that people started to take us more seriously. Like our first week's turnover was £327 for the whole. So it was difficult, but we had no choice but to keep going. It became more and more popular, and then the whole craft revolution came. So there was 2 times where this was really popular. One was say in the early 2000s, and then the next one was the recession. So when people were left with they'd lost their jobs or whatever, or took early retirement, put money into opening breweries. So there was a renaissance then. We've gone from there was 7 of us in the 90s. Only 3 of us survived that. Sorry, 11, but we were the 7th. 3 survived that. Porterhouse, which had their own bars. O'Hara's, which had concentrated on export, and ourselves. My business partner he had bars as well, so that helped us survive. But also Cork is very, very unique. The Cork people really stick together, and they really encourage small business. So we were extremely lucky. Some of the customers that we had 27 years ago, we still have now. The only ones we don't have are people who got out of the business. So 2012, we were looking to expand the business because we saw others come in new to the market and get bigger than us very quickly. And I viewed that we just couldn't be left behind on this because we'd worked so hard. So in the process of looking to expand the business, 4 companies came to look to purchase us. And one of those companies was Molson Coors. So on December the 21st, 2012, we sold the business to them. I had to stay on for 5 years on the buyout clause. I ended up staying for 11. I loved it. It was a real eye opener on how brands are dealt with on a global scale. So I was lucky enough to be involved on the ground very much in the UK, in building up the business, which became half of the trade at one stage. Went into other markets like Spain, which was completely different to the UK, but in some ways easier to do business, which I was surprised at. We nearly got to the States a couple of times, but it just, for one reason or another, it didn't happen. And we had some fantastic journeys along the way, like dealing with the wonderful people in Pernod Ricard, producing castmates with them. We were the first beer partner with them. So that's why I suppose we were listed as one of the few to be propositioned for acquisition. I looked at the other 3 businesses. For whatever reason, they weren't suitable either to myself or my business partner. And then Molson Coors came along about 4 weeks later. I spoke to Keith Villa, who I didn't know at the time, but he was the creator and founder of Blue Moon. And I spoke to Stuart Howe, who was the brewer in Sharps at the time, who had been just acquired before us. And I viewed that these are, it's a family business. I got to know David Coors. We became really good friends, and I said, these are the people that I can work with. So that's why I stayed on for 11 years. But then it got to a point where I suppose I wasn't adding value anymore. I thought I wasn't adding value. That was probably for some time. But it's hard to walk away from something that you've helped create. Obviously, there was other people, there's other business partners. There was a fantastic small team there that two of them are still there out of the three. So I just decided, it's time for me to walk away into the yonder. I didn't think that I'd be back brewing or involved in brewing. I'm not a brewer per se. And then this opportunity came along with two friends of mine in Dublin who introduced me to the rest of the consortium. And then I said, right, okay, let me go there and get a team, which a very small team, so just two of the guys who were working with me anyway. And then I went out and got a brewer, Mark Nixon, who in my opinion is phenomenal. He had come to me many years ago to see if there was anything that would, if anything that came up that was exciting and had longevity. Would I keep him in mind? I said, absolutely I would. I didn't think it would be something like this. He's based just outside of Dublin. He had been the head brewer for Hope and Trouble, two very respected in Dublin. So I approached him and I said, Mark, this is coming up. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for you. You have the safety net of the publicans involved. They're all family houses. Most of them are second generational, if not third. So they're not in it for the money here. They're in it to be a step above, to adapt for their customers. They work the bars themselves still. So he jumped at the opportunity, and then he in turn went and got his second in command, his right-hand man, Barry, who came from Brewdog.
Okay.
So they're the two guys that are in there at the moment. But I mean, people say this, oh, you're a brewer and you do this and you do this. I'm able to do recipes, and like Chieftain would have been my one, which at one stage was the biggest craft beer, if you want to use that term, in Ireland. But on the consistent day-to-day basis and being creative, the guys who are in there, I wouldn't be a patch on them.
Right.
I have experience, but I wouldn't be a patch on them. They're absolutely brilliant at what they do. So they've produced two beers now, a hazy pale and a lager, both sessionable, both 4.2. We're not playing in the sphere of the craft scene per se, because the pubs that are involved in this are city centre pubs. Some of them would have only had mainstream beers in it before. So we're I'm not saying we're mainstream, but we're not craft either. We're basically adapting to what our customer is looking for, and that's what sets it aside a bit different to others, because they're at the forefront. These 12 people who are involved in this project, they're seeing the customer on a daily basis. They're seeing how things are changing, especially with the young people now. Like the two beers that are on the market now, they might be completely different beers in 2 years' time as the guys adapt to the palate change in people. It's not set in stone. You have to think. We have to think. I believe outside the box now, that that the old fundamentals of branding and strategy and marketing, they're turned on their head, and if you're not willing to move with it, you could be lost. We've seen so many, between the collective houses that are involved in this, so many, including my own, so many brands that we've been told or dictated that, oh, this is the next big thing, and you're looking at it going, this is not the next big thing. But it's not. I'm telling you, it's not the next big thing, and they've come and gone. And some beers or spirits or any sort of beverage can work in one country and do really, really well, and just transferable to another. So that's another thing that we're very aware of. So the next stages of this will probably be export to. We'd have a lot of connections collectively in the likes of Manhattan or London. Maybe even before we go to the rest of Ireland.
Okay, so I mean, there's a lot there. Obviously, like you said, probably that the fact that you set up Franciscan Well so long ago, but the Coors link obviously makes you, it gives you a big insight into that international one, which the local publicans don't have. But like I said, they're how would I phrase this? Like they're well-known publicans that I've seen listed anyway. They're pretty big, pretty popular bars, but like I said, they're still family run, and the people are still running them, which gives you that insight into what the customer wants. They're not big corporate bars, so they have an immediate
they're
insight.
not they're not absentee landlords either.
Yeah,
They're on a full-time basis, so you know that they're not waiting for second-hand information. The information they get is real time.
yeah. So I mean that's the difference. Like I mean, I've talked to loads of brewers over the time, and one of the big things that comes across is those who have a tap house or who have a bar. Like that's always the feedback, that they can adapt immediately. They can know if the beer is popular, whereas you're not putting it out in cans, brewing it for however long, and it's out there for a year, and then you discover it doesn't sell. You can adapt.
Yeah, I mean the ones that we'd have helped out in the last number of years, the likes of Dick Max and Dingle and Rising Suns in Cork, that's what their model was based on, was tap houses. Anything other than that was going to be incremental income. And I mean, if I was opening a pub in Kerry, I wouldn't open it without a Dick Max beer.
Right.
So dominant now regionally. Rising Suns in Cork is extremely dominant, but their tap room takes away a lot of the worry about paying the bills. Like Dick Max, when Finn and his dad came to me about that, it was basically to replace customers during the day that were actually dying.
Okay.
Wanted more footfall, so it was based more on tourism. He didn't expect bars in the area to take it in, but they got two really good brewers in there. The beer is very good quality, and they're in every bar in Dingle now.
Yeah, that actually brings up something, because I remember talking to Killarney some time back, Mike there, and he was saying that they had this problem where when they opened in Killarney Brewing, they couldn't get the bars either to take it, and it was just the tourists. The tourists kept asking for the local beer, and that forced the others to take it in. And it sounds like it's the same in Dingle. But do you think that is that kind of a factor? How are you going to market this through the bars in Dublin? Like, are you going to market it as a local beer? Are you hoping on the tourists or just the locals? Or
so I see it as going the same way as brewing in general. I see it going the same way as the last recession. So we weren't affected at all by the last recession. We were very, very lucky. People were buying local. People could identify, I'd get it because Peter's making it, or Paddy's making it, or Shane's and Bob's, or whatever. There was a face, place, and story to it. Now I think with the way things are going, it's going back to that. Maybe not the face, but definitely the place and provenance. So for the first year, our attention is city centre Dublin. Concentrate on that. Right, there's enough volume there if you get it right. So we will base it on the it's in 14 bars in Dublin now, which the guys have connections with, and it'll be going into more in January. Initially with some of the bars that they would have some form of shareholding in, or there's a family connection. Again, just so that we can make sure that there's going to be teething problems in this. Even with all the experience collectively, there's still going to be problems. So we iron all of those out before we expand within Dublin city centre.
And I've seen a couple of comments, like, I mean, this can be very cynical. People can be very cynical that this is just a way for bars to get cheap beer that they'll then sell at the same price. I mean, I've seen that, and I suppose this is why I was coming back to your experience. Like, you have a reputation that kind of stands behind this. You've got that reputation, which kind of gives it the kind of the confidence that it's not cheap beer. It's not just a way for publicans to get their beer cheap. But
I can tell you exactly. This is going in probably more expensive than some of the mainstream products, and definitely up there with the craft products. We're selling in a 50-litre keg at between 190 and 195 per keg with no discount.
Okay.
So the guys it's definitely not a money play. It's the best of ingredients going into this. It's the best of people behind it, not me, as in the best brewers behind this. We've got a premises in Dublin, which isn't cheap, I can tell you. So,
I mean, the reason I ask is I saw when you announced this, I think it was on RT, there was a comment from someone, like there was an article about it, and it was like, yeah, you'll be they'll be getting the kegs at half the price they get from Heineken, and that was, that was the whole thing. But it's
No,
obviously, it's not true.
that is not true. That I don't know the person that was it. I saw the interview. It was linked to us as if we said it, which couldn't be more further from. So, yeah, it would have been nice if we had been included in that interview and we could have dispelled that rumor. But listen, if you had no bills and you were brewing it yourself and you had solar panels that you paid for, maybe you could get to that price. I'm in this 27 years and I couldn't get to that price.
Right.
So, yeah, and as I say, the guys aren't the guys aren't getting this at any discount.
Right. So this is, I suppose, that's the other question. I mean, this is set up as the brewery is a standalone business. It's not, the publicans could take, I suppose, any profits two ways. Either the brewery makes a profit or they take the lower price on the thing. But it is a standalone business and it has to make its own money.
Yes.
So I guess that answers everything on that side. So do you know, I mean, obviously the advantage for you then is, like you said, you have a distribution already going in. So you have sales, which is what I suppose is the problem for most new breweries. At least you've got the confidence that the sales are there for the next couple of years anyway, and then you can expand.
I wouldn't have got involved with it if it wasn't the case, because, as I say, we were the seventh back in 1998. There was 11 of us in the 90s, 3 survived, and now there's 76 breweries in Ireland. So I wouldn't, even with the connections and the network that would be open to us, I wouldn't go it a standalone. In fact, this is the last thing that I'm
never again.
I'm in my 50s now, and I kind of, it was David, this was the brainchild of Willie Ahern and David Chalk. I classed them as friends of mine. They're good people. And when they brought in the other guys, I was like, okay, this is, it's de-risked here.
Yeah.
I was going to have risk, but it is de-risked. But these are really passionate people who care about their business. So I think if anybody's got a chance of making it, it's going to be these guys.
Right. And do you know, like, how is this beer going to be positioned? Because again, you mentioned like some of them have no craft beer, no microbreweries in the bar. So is it going to be positioned differently in each bar, or how are you going to try and manage that?
So we're really we're front and center in each bar. So we got the prime position in the middle of the bank, each bar. Something that's
that's hard to get, in fairness.
Bigger players might be having to pay some money to get their position, that we were able to just ask, can we get that position? And we did. So it's been marketed as it's a Dublin brewery. It's been marketed as a Dublin brewery. Local, I can walk from the brewery to the Palace Bar in 29 minutes. You get the Lewis in 12 into the city centre. It's just behind behind. So I would say that it's there are other breweries in Dublin. Obviously, they're fantastic. They're brilliant. They've gone down, like they're in the craft sphere. I just wouldn't see us playing in that at the moment.
Right.
We're just not.
Yeah. So you want to be more of kind of a mass market Heineken competitor, sort of, in the bars, as opposed to kind of some of the craft ones are, very, very much on the local side or even novelty side. Some of the beers are kind of,
No, I suppose it's asking and listening to the customer.
Right.
And it is a different customer that's coming into me in the Franciscan Well or the Beer House, or have say a house in Cork, or say the Galway Bay bars in Dublin. All brilliant and very good at what they do. But your regular person who's coming in off the street, they want something that they don't have to acquire a taste for.
Yeah.
But there's still enough complexity of a fine wine in this. Subtle but the taste profiles are for that person who's, I'm out for 3 or 4 drinks. I'll be able to stick on this for the 3 or 4.
And I mean that's something you would Sorry, just
Sorry,
no problem.
The joys of running businesses.
No, but that's what you were saying about the quality of the brewers. Is that, like, I mean, it can be very easy to make a very out there beer that's got, all this thing, but making something that appeals to the majority and is still a good beer can be a very difficult thing to do.
Very, I mean, and also it's like, I'm in it 27 years, so you're like, reality and what's out there on social media can be completely two different things. So I was involved with a group of guys, very, very good at what they do, and they would have rotation taps and fantastic, get a huge amount of publicity out of it, but the sales are tiny.
Yeah.
And it's not paying for the lights, or it's not paying for the wages, but you do get kudos. But the reality is, you just don't. Neither the brewery nor the bar can make money out of it.
Right. So yeah, so some of those are just their marketing, basically. That they're a form of marketing. Yeah. You get the.
We've had it in the past. We did some wild and wacky stuff in the Franciscan Well over the years. Did it sell? No, not on a scale that you're going to make any money out of.
Right.
But did it create noise? Yeah. And is it important? Yes, it is, to keep your name kind of active. If you're in the craft scene, you have to do that.
Yeah.
You have to be more creative a lot of the time. Whereas, if you're going down the regular customer, it's a little bit easier.
Yeah. And so what beers you said there's 3 beers at the moment? There's
a lager, which is both a 4.2%, a lager and a hazy pale.
Okay. I guess the big one for Ireland is the stout. Is that coming?
Watch this space.
Okay. Okay. Well, then the other question is it going to be more of a Guinness style or a Murphy style,
We try to be individual, So, as I say, going back to, we don't want somebody coming in having to acquire a taste for what we produce.
Yeah.
So it won't be something that you have to acquire a taste for.
Right. I suppose the other thing is there, you're marketing it as up there as a Dublin brewery. Does that mean, how are you going to sell it in Cork?
We'll build it up in Dublin, get a brand call first. Again, like what I found from working with the likes of Coors or working with the likes of Pernod, if you get a cluster going on, it's easier to get a brand call. You get a brand call, it's easier to extend outside of that cluster. So Dublin is where, most of the people in the country live. It's where most of the tourists come to. So we need to get it right there first.
Yeah.
But once we do, then it's much easier outside of that, because you will get a brand that's built up there then that will be asked for in Cork. And once you start asked for, then you can extend it out. Now, one of the business partners is from Cork, and he's got 14 bars in Cork. So again, it'll be much easier than going in cold.
Yeah.
To do that. But the initial thing is get it right in Dublin first.
Right. Just in terms then of, like I said, you've got the main bar space. Are they, or I suppose maybe no one will say, what are the plans to go with the kind of the big main ones then, the Heinekens, is that up to each bar that some might phase out, some might just keep them both, or?
Yeah, it's been obviously we can't and won't dictate to anybody what they can and can't take out, because I wouldn't take something out if it was selling, and even if one customer was coming in regularly and buying that, I'm not going to take out a product. So we've seen quite a few mainstream products coming out, less so on the craft side, and then in between your kind of world beers have come out in various places. I haven't kept track of it now. I was surprised with some of the mainstream ones that came out, especially one that I thought was starting to gain a lot of traction. But when I spoke to the owner last week, he said it didn't make any difference to Australia.
Okay. Well, again, I suppose owning the bar and being hands-on, you can help guide the customer to something else as well. So,
yeah.
So how has it been going? You're 2 weeks officially in business now?
This is 2 weeks in business. Yeah.
Right. And how's the feedback been, and how's the response to it been?
It's been phenomenal. It's blown me away, actually. we got a huge amount of publicity. I mean, way more than I've ever seen in a brand before, in such a short period of time. But the feedback on the quality of the products, I didn't have any. Not to be sounding overconfident, but when you have somebody like Mark Nixon doing the beers, I didn't. It was probably the least worry I had in the whole project, because he is so good.
Right.
Yeah.
And the brewery, was it? I saw the figures, and that was completely built for this project, was it, or was it?
Yeah.
I wasn't 100% sure whether it was built or whether you'd bought someone else's brewery. And
no, we had there's a lot of fire sales going on at the moment, but again, because the consistency and quality was paramount to us. Our system is completely automated, so it takes out. You're always going to have certain elements of risk or whatever, but you're taking out a lot of the elements of
right.
things that go wrong. So we had this. Yeah, it's purpose built. The whole thing is out, even from Mark he's over in Germany next week. But he was over finalising the keg washer filler in Dusseldorf, and he made some adjustments to it. So it is pretty much bespoke to what he's looking for. But I'm very confident in it. Yeah.
And the plan then is, I mean, you're all on trade at the moment. Is it going to go then trying to get kind of off license trade as well, or cans and that, or is that far down the road?
I'm not going to rule out anything. But from what I've seen at the moment, it's very, very tough to make money in the off trade side of it. So we will certainly we'll go in with an open mind, but it will be tentative if we were involved in that. Yeah.
Yeah, stick to the strengths you have at the moment, which is the distribution, and from there. Okay. So I don't know. I mean, it's just to clarify for people, because I realize I'm assuming people understood here. This is kind of unique in Ireland, that this consortium. I think it's the only time that a consortium of publicans, especially have got together to set up their own brewery. It's probably happened in other countries, I assume, before, but it is unique here.
It is. I mean, you've had breweries that have gone out and bought pubs, but I think the only time there was a consortium of publicans, yeah.
Right. And I guess, like you said, I mean, it is it must have been hard. You came in towards the end of it; they came to you. So, do you know how long they'd been planning all this beforehand, or how it had?
It was going on for quite a long time, but just over pints.
Right.
And then when they I'd say they decided, right, are we serious about this? And if we are, we need to go and talk to somebody who's done it before.
Right.
I was just lucky enough that they came to me. And as I say, friendly with David and Willie. And when I saw the other guys in the room, I was like, this is a heavy hitting pack.
Right.
So yeah, I was comfortable enough to say, yeah, I'll help you out here and let's make it happen.
Right.
Like Mark would have a lot of connections within the industry. My right hand man Steve was paramount in getting this off the ground as well. He would have revenue for me because I got the existing brewery back in Cork 2 years ago now, so he's headed up that business. So we were able to, even though we did have hurdles, we were probably able to get through them quicker than most people because we'd been there and done that.
Right. No, it's an exciting thing. It's like I said, it's definitely different for Ireland because most of the breweries that have set up now are microbreweries, are real craft breweries. So it's a different market, it's a different approach. And hopefully it'll work because it sounds like you've got the people behind it, you've got the experience behind it. It should work.
It should work. There are no certain things in life, but it should work.
All right. Well, look, I appreciate. I know you've got kind of, like you said, you have 3 different businesses to run now at least. So maybe I better let you go. Is there anything I should have asked you, by the way, on that I kind of, you'll be saying this was my chance to say something, and he never asked me, and I wish he had.
No, don't think so.
No. All right. Well, listen. Like I said, I only get back to Cork once in a while. I have to call into the Franciscan Well again when I get back.
Give me a shout before that. I'd love to meet up with you.
All right. Okay, we'll do that.
Send me the link when it's done, will you?
Sorry?
Send me the link when it's done.
I will. I'll probably be getting it out next week, I'd say, but I'll send it on to you. All right. Listen, Shane, thanks a million. I appreciate your time. I know you're very busy. And yeah, hopefully we'll start seeing that appear in Cork pubs as well. Is any of the Changing Times going to appear in Franciscan Well, or is that going to be?
Oh, we will. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
All right. Well, then we can try both of them. All right. Listen, thanks a million. I appreciate your time. I'll end this.